Welcome to Faith on Film with Isaac Hernandez and Holly McClure. Keeping you informed on faith and family entertainment.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Faith on Film. To today's episode, we've got one wonderful episode for you today. Holly, how you doing?
We do, Isaac. It's another great show, and especially for the holidays, okay?
Oh, yeah.
We've got movies that are coming to theaters, you guys. The Boys in the Boat, directed by George Clooney. I interviewed the stars. We're going to hear from them. And then also the next is an animated film, Migration for the Family, and I interviewed the animator, the director of that, which you're going to want to see. And then also Freud's Last Session, the star of that. So we've got three big movies that are coming out, and we have the interviews.
Yes, and that's what's neat about today's show is last week we mentioned a lot of different movies, and these three, of course, we mentioned at that time. But we have interviews today.
Yes, we do.
Let's start off with the first one, which is The Boys in the Boat. We'll take a look at the trailer and then come back with your interview.
There are some moments in life you never forget. The depression hit everyone hard. No jobs, no food. We were broke.
Looks like you still owe a balance on this semester.
So what's that about making some money?
Yeah, the rowing team. You're on it, you get a part-time job included, cheap place to live.
8-man crew is the most difficult team sport in the world. The average human body is just not meant for such things. Most of you will not be chosen.
Beautiful speech, Coach.
You're announcing the team today. Are you going to make it?
We rode out of need.
Come on, boys!
The need to stay in school, the need to eat, to sleep.
We gotta keep these, right? As long as we stay on the team.
Washington Huskies coach is bringing an inexperienced boat to competition.
They said we couldn't compete with the richest schools in the nation.
The Washington boat has taken the lead. Washington has done it!
I got 9 seconds under the course record. Olympic year this year. Olympic year? I didn't realize.
That bunch of kids rode like no one else that's ever come through here.
Everybody else tires and just gets stronger. We have a boat that I believe could qualify for an Olympic spot.
Hope you know what you're doing.
They said we couldn't beat the Germans.
You gotta beat those other schools first, but Coach says we have a shot.
Maybe we can row as a team.
If you guys don't get yourselves figured out, you're not racing at all.
The boys, that boat, Saiga.
But they didn't understand who we were.
For sure what's in this book.
I don't believe what I'm seeing!
Best brothers, they're connected. Sweat and pain.
For what it's worth, I'm proud of you boys.
Inspiring.
You missed the part where I told him not to tip over.
And I
Row for your country. Row for each other.
For all the people who never believed in you! As one! As one!
Joe, I'll go to you first. You played a variety of characters from kinky to sci-fi. And what about this role, though? Playing this coach, very, very different playing Coach Al. What did you walk away from, first of all, from playing this character, and what did he give to those boys to help him win the gold? What do you think it was about him?
Oh, look, I think there's something about the tough love, fatherly aspect of some coaches that young, sports people, men or women, want to really do the best for their coach. I really see it like a fatherly relationship. And the less you give, the more the team wants to give. But inevitably, through the process of working with anyone, you start to really see the person behind the physique that's going to help you win the sport, and that I just love that there's a humanistic aspect that starts to grow in Ulbrichsen through the story, that he's willing to show his love and appreciation for the boys.
Oh, and Callum, what a physical role for you. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine doing what you guys had to do. Maybe it was more on screen.
Neither could I.
It was exhausting what you had to do, but what you went through in playing this role, it really helped you appreciate what these men went through to achieve and win the gold. What did you walk away from that as far as being exhausted? But you think you could row now? You probably could. You probably
honestly, Holly, I walked away with the 8 friends, you know, that I'm going to have for life. And it's really funny because without being too sentimental, Terry O'Neill, who trained us, came down and brought his friends down while we were training. And he said, these are my friends since I was 11 years old, 12 years old, and they're my best friends, and I made them from rowing. And he said, these boys are going to be like your family. And actually, we all were like, that's really emotional and very sweet, Terry, but we don't believe you. But it's true. And we've got this bond that we're going to have forever. And also, me and Joel like each other as well.
Yeah.
Well, because that relationship was special. And I love the fact that Joel lived into his 90s and he was able to kind of see, Joe was able to see
You're right.
With the story, not you, but that's character you played. Okay, guys, you both have written, you both directed, but you were directed by a writer, director, and actor. How was it working with George Clooney directing you? What did you walk away learning from him that was different?
It was terrible, no?
I was looking at George in the first week going, why aren't you in front of the camera? You're the biggest movie star here. You know, really interesting to know that George can, you know, go and work on any number of movies as an actor and you know, take home bags of gold for it. And yet he felt really passionate about this story that he wanted to sit behind the camera and spend a year of his life crafting that story. So, you know, I was really impressed by him as a director and the way he put the movie together and what it's turned out to be. But just impressed when I see people that passionate about a story that they're willing to take that time and all that extra work. Because actors' job is a little bit simpler and easier than directing a movie, for sure, 100%.
Hey, final comment. How important is it, I think, for a younger generation to see this movie? Because this is the underdog story, but I think it's for all ages, but especially for young people. I would think it would inspire them, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what sport does, you know, and being part of a team and being responsible for, you know, 8 other guys in that boat and knowing you can't miss a beat is truly inspiring. And we love an underdog story, right? It's our thing. And I think Joe Rantz's story is the true underdog story.
Well, I'll tell you what worked is even though I knew the ending, I was still hoping you would win. So
that's a good thing.
When you're like, I hope you're winning, even though you know it, I was still like, I hope they win. I hope they win. So it was well done. Beautiful.
The people at our premiere were rowing.
I found myself doing the same thing.
You may get a 6-pack watching this movie.
I wish I could. Thank you guys so much, and great success to you in your future careers, but especially for this movie. Thank you.
Thanks, Holly.
Holly, that was such a wonderful interview.
Don't you like it? Those guys were great talking about the characters and the roles. And I love hearing the insights on George Clooney. I mean, what an amazing actor, director to tackle this and take it on. And, you know, I also had a chance to interview Daniel James Brown, who wrote in the story and the book. So he was involved with the screenplay. And he told how the real Joe Rance, once this book came out, there was a foundation started to help kids who were on the street, who were homeless. So this story has gone way beyond the Olympic gold and beyond the story about these boys. And it's really gone on to help so many young men and women now who are grown up now, who didn't have a chance, but were helped by his organization. It's a great feel-good story, Isaac. I love the underdog. And like I said to them, literally, I was like, oh, I hope they win. I hope they win. Even though I knew it, I was if they win. And that's when you know you have a good story, good direction. It's amazing. That's when you know it's a good movie. So I encourage, take your, mature older kids, but especially your young teens. Listen, folks, we need a younger generation to understand hard work and discipline and going after something and school and education. These are all the things that they need to understand. And that's what we need to have these days. So I encourage younger generations to do it.
Oh, I can't wait to go see it. Now, you also had a chance to interview somebody from a really, what I think looks like a great animation movie.
It is. I had a chance to get Benjamin Renner, who directed and wrote Migration. Let's take a look.
Here we are together. We're on an adventure.
Seeing what else life has to offer. Is that a little scary? Sure. But isn't it worth it?
We're not gonna make it, are we?
Uncle Dan!
What is this place?
We are completely lost.
Where's your mother? That is not your mother.
We're trying to get to Jamaica.
Don't worry, Chump's gotcha.
So listen, Chump.
What? Did you just call me?
Sorry, I thought your name was Chump.
Yeah, Chump. Yeah, that's my name. What?
Right. So listen, Chump.
What did you just call me?
I'm sorry. Is everyone else hearing Chump? What?
This isn't about migration. It's about adventure.
Whoa, hey!
What just happened? I don't know, but you're in trouble.
What is that? Duck a la ronge.
What's stuck à l'orange?
It's you with l'orange on top.
There's a whole world we've been missing out on.
And we
When danger strikes, you do not run from it. Reload! We're going to finish this crazy, wonderful adventure.
You're so adorable. Maybe I'll eat you. I'm kidding. Where am I?
Huh? Go!
First of all, why is this the perfect movie to go see with your family for the Christmas holidays?
Well, I think it's the perfect movie just because there's comedy, there's adventure, there's a journey as well, and we really wanted, to make a road trip that's going to be amazing, both artistically speaking, but also, like in terms of humor and comedy. So yeah, that's definitely something that's going to make the family just have fun and enjoy. It's a free trip, throughout the US and with all the humor that can be in it.
And it talks about overcoming fears and, breaking out of your norm and doing something different. I love the themes that you talk, especially for kids and adults, right?
Yeah, definitely. We really wanted this movie to, as it's a family, there's the two generation and even three generation because there's the old uncle that's sort of coming along. So yeah, we wanted it to be relatable to everyone and have the comedy of the family dynamic that's going to sprout out of the whole movie where we can see them in different situations that are going to go from almost like a little horror movie for kids where they're meeting a weird heron. We don't know if she's nice or mean and everything, and then we're going to move to this more like action sequence where they're like a Mission Impossible mission where they have to retrieve a key to save a duck and everything, but still with this very relatable family dynamic that's going to make them like feel like very clumsy ducks and like getting through those adventures.
Absolutely amazing cast, talented all-star cast, funny people. Okay, but who was the most fun to work with? In animation, you don't have all of them together usually, but who was the funniest or the one that surprised you maybe the most in doing their lines with them?
Oh, honestly, they were all amazing, so it's hard. I mean, of course, Danny DeVito is standing out because the thing with Danny is that he just does what he wants to do in the sense that he's going to have a script, he reads the line once, and then he goes on a 15 minutes stand-up comedy show of improvisation. And so you don't expect anything. Everything is a surprise, all his lines are a surprise. And that's what's making him so great is that he wants to make you laugh at all costs and he won't stop until you fell from your chair, basically. So that's what's great working with him.
Well, there were so many funny parts to this movie. Now that you've seen it put together, is there one of your favorites that you love how it came together, a scene or a part of the movie?
Well, one of the part of the movie that I love is this little sequence where they're meeting herons because it's scary, but at the same time it's funny. And I was very worried that kids would be frightened by this sequence, and it turns out that they're not. They really enjoy the tension that there is in this sequence and the characters. So I'm really happy about this little, as I said, little horror movie, but with a lot of comedy. Yeah.
And lastly, you're a beautiful animator, cartoonist. What special thing did you do for this movie that was different than anything you've done to make it beautiful and unique and the birds look real and colorful?
Yeah, I think it's the simple fact that I worked with a studio that's so good at making those 3D movies that look so real, you know, like usually I work in 2D animation, so hand-drawn animation, which I love, but here they give me the opportunity of making all those characters and those landscapes feel so real, like you could touch them, you know, like you could be there and you feel like you're here. The sun is, you can feel it, the wind, you can see the wings. You know, like the feathers of the ducks when they're flying, you can see it shake and everything. So it really feels like your senses are like part of the movie and you're flying with them. And that's something that I just found was a huge difference for me this time, yeah.
And Jamaica, you made me want to go. I want to go to Jamaica. I want to go vacation there.
Yeah, definitely. You should definitely.
Benjamin, thank you so much. Much success for this wonderful film. I have
Thank
great
you
kids.
so much.
I can't wait for them to see it. So thanks. Congratulations. Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. You too. Merry Christmas. Thanks a lot.
I love Benjamin Renner. He was such a delight to interview. And you know what? Migration's a really good film. Folks, if you want to take your kids, your grandkids for the holidays, you're always looking for something more kid-like to take. This is a beautifully done animated. I love his techniques, how he talked about. It's a good story of overcoming your fears and adventure and breaking out and, you know, trying new things. And I love that. Overall, it's good. There's just a couple of little things. And that is the word stupid that's used. Now, for some people, they may go, that's not a big deal. What's the big deal about that? Well, my daughter-in-law does not allow my 3- and 6-year-old grandchild to say the word stupid. So I'm just saying it's only used a couple of times. As parents, you know, you may want to be discerning about that. But go see the movie. I'm just saying you may want to say to the kids, we don't say that, do we? Overall, this is wonderful. You don't have to be worried about scary, ghoulish monsters. It's kind of like a Ratatouille kind of movie where, yes, sometimes they're chased by a chef and a few other things, but you don't see anything, you know, happen that would be nightmarish. I love this movie. I think you will too. And I don't know, Migration. It's fun. And I love the way they portrayed Jamaica. It's beautiful. This whole southern area, it's beautiful. So.
Well, I do have to admit something. I wasn't allowed to say stupid when I was a kid either.
You weren't?
No.
You weren't? Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I wasn't either. And so I just have to mention that again, not necessarily for 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. This is more like for 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, kids that understand what we say and don't say. That's what I'm saying.
Now, what is the next movie that you had an opportunity to interview somebody on?
Okay, Freud's Last Session. And I'm just telling you, this was so thought-provoking. Anthony Hopkins plays Freud. Matthew Good is C.S. Lewis. And so, again, this is not for your kids. It's for mature teens. I think you should see. I mean, I think they would enjoy it. Actually, older kids, mature teens. If you were a C.S. Lewis buff, you know, you probably would understand the context. But this fictional meeting took place before he wrote Language in the Wardrobe and all that. This is at the beginning, when they had the think tank, so to speak, you know, with all the thought-provoking who's who. And so that's why it's about Freud meeting with him. But you know what? I thought it was really interesting. There's information about, they talk about their faith. They talk about C.S. Lewis. And then also the fact that Freud was Jewish. I didn't even know that. And so interesting how he kind of fought that religious background as well. And Matt Brown wrote and directed it. I had a chance to interview him. We're not including that today, but well done. And I think, like I said, if you're a C.S. Lewis fan and Anthony Hopkins and Matthew Good fan, you'll like it.
Professor Lewis.
Dr. Freud.
I've given you up for lost. Yoffie is my personal assistant.
Really?
Well, if a patient is calm, Yoffie always stretches out at my feet. But if a patient is agitated, Yoffie stands at my side.
What should I make of his running away at the sight of me?
Ah, well, he's also a fanatic about punctuality.
Well, you have a wonderful home.
My daughter Anna tried her best to replicate our home in Vienna. Forgive me, but why would you come here to see me if you disagree so passionately with my views?
To make you realize that you're wrong.
Well done. Good.
You've insisted all your lives that the very concept of God is ludicrous.
Yes. Why someone of your supreme intellect would suddenly abandon truth and then embrace a ludicrous dream, an insidious lie?
Well, I wholeheartedly disagree.
Well, of course you disagree. You have to disagree. Otherwise, the entire structure of your childish faith would collapse into rubble.
Why does religion make room for science, but science refuses to make room for religion?
Oh, please, you're breaking my heart. Because they hide behind their ignorance. You hide behind your ignorance.
I think that you're afraid to feel emotions at all.
Is that your final diagnosis? Fascinating.
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, finally, we're making progress.
You lie to yourself, thinking that you can control death. The way you control your world and your daughter.
Anna's dedicated to the science.
Is she seeing someone?
She has no time for relationships.
I'm worried about my father. He has no one.
There must be someone.
Me.
That's my girl.
Truth is, you're terrified.
We're all terrified. See, you bury your doubts, you bury your memories of the war. But at the core of your being, we're all cowards before death.
First of all, congratulations to a very not only interesting, but made me want to hear more and learn more. Like I wanted to see them have more of a session. So I thought this was fascinating, a fascinating movie and study on, what it took to bring these two together. Even though it may have been fictional, it was very rewarding for me. Matthew, did you, growing up in British, you were very familiar with C.S. Lewis. Were you a fan of C.S. Lewis books at all?
I mean, I was a fan of since childhood, of course. Yes. I mean, I've read the Chronicles of Narnia several times, and I loved those books. I didn't know much of his. I wasn't a follower of his Christian apology, that kind of work. I hadn't been, but that was also one of the things that I loved about taking on this part. But apart from, the elephant in the room, which was the fact that it's the fact that Tony's already played him incredibly well in Shadowlands. And that was also where I knew him from, because it's a performance which still stands up to the day, like all of Tony's work does. But if you're going to play him, you have to do a hell of a lot of research, because there's an awful lot of work written about him and his own words and stuff. So, but I found, just like this is a very long answer, I don't want to make it too long, but Surprised by Joy, which is a memoir he wrote in 1954, is extremely useful to me. And then after you've done all your research and you've learned all your lines, you just sort of you've got to throw it out and just get in the room and see what Tony's going to bring, which is pretty immense.
I was fascinated by the fact that for C.S. Lewis, I felt like the dialogue didn't feel overly religious. It just felt very thought-provoking. Had you, Matthew, ever explored that side of C.S. Lewis, or had you only looked at the fantasy side? I mean, had you ever explored his religious side?
No, I mean, I know, of course, I had to read some of his Christian apology to understand, and I read Pilgrim's Regress, which is a challenging read. It's an interesting allegory, and it's long, and challenging for the reader. I had several times I had to look up a word in the dictionary. I started to make me feel a bit unintelligent. And actually, the more I read, to be honest with you, I started to think, I just don't know if I can understand this man. But he's fascinating, because he's an atheist, then a theist, and then he's a full-blown Christian.
Matt, as far as directing and writing, I mean, that's taking a lot, not just to write it, but to direct it and get in with these two phenomenal actors. How was it for you exploring the background of Freud?
It was interesting. It was fun. It was, it was a long process. I probably was developing a script for about 6 years or so. So it was, I grew up with Freud in the house. My father's a psychiatrist. So, it was, which kind of made me want to run away from the project, if I'm being honest, originally. But what I didn't know about both characters really was a lot on the personal side. I had no idea about Freud losing his daughter and the difficult. That daughter that he lost was really the bright shining apple for his eye, and then the Anna Freud was very much alienated from that daughter, and then she kind of wound up following in her father's footsteps, and very, very complex relationship with her father. So that to me was really intriguing, and I had no idea about that ever before. So and that evolved the scripts evolved, and it got that story came forward a bit more, just as the PTSD with Lewis came forward quite a bit more as they evolved.
Yes, that was going to ask you. I didn't know that Freud had Jewish background, so I was fascinated to find that out and learn that out of that too came some of his, mindset about faith and religion and things. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then
I think his relationship with his father was very challenged as well, which also helped form his own views on faith. But like anybody, I think Freud, and that was something that I really enjoyed with the film, was that like anybody who's so sure of their opinions, death is what do they say? It's the great leveler, but it also it's the great wake up call to when it's coming to maybe rethink a few things. And I think Freud here is re-examining his own beliefs as he did. He was always intellectually curious, so I think it makes sense that he would have invited Mr. Lewis over. And
just last question is, who is this movie good for? Is it just the, smart thinker, brainy? Is it just the fans of C.S. Lewis, or who is this a good audience for, this movie?
The audience for this film, I feel like it should be anybody who wants to. It's for everyone. It's for everyone. It really is, because we all are faced with this question. It's the question of our time: science and religion. And I don't think that they have to be enemies. And I think there can be conversation, and my hope is that when people leave the movie theater, they talk about the film and they talk about some of these themes, and they don't have to kill each other while they're doing it. They can,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Matthew, just want you to know your Teen Choice Award, I voted for you. Broadcast Film Critics Award here. I saw that you won that, and I had to say, oh, that was hilarious, but I had to tell you.
Good stuff. Thanks, lovely.
You're welcome.
Good work.
You're welcome. That was one of the things I'm proud to say I was able to vote for. You guys, you've been brilliant. Thank you. God bless each of you. And we just hope this movie impacts everyone. I think you're right. Everyone needs to see it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Okay, so what I found very interesting is that we talked about a movie for that's great for teens, a movie that's great for kids, and then a movie that's great for adults. We covered the whole spectrum.
We covered it all. Of course, that Boys in the Boat, for everyone, all ages to see that, and I love that movie. It was, did you know it was the #1 rowing sport? I didn't know that.
I had no idea.
Fascinated. It was the #1 sport in America at that time. And anyway, of course we won the gold, which was amazing. And hey, Isaac, another movie that we talked about, The Chosen Christmas movie that combined The Messenger and The Shepherd. It was only in theaters for a few days. However, it's going to be airing on CW. And people will be able to watch at the end of December on that, and then also on their app. So we're letting people know, if you missed seeing it in theaters, you still get a chance to see The Chosen Christmas Story. And I love showing movies that are generally released from studios that aren't necessarily faith-based, but they're good stories.
They're good stories. And you know what? We all go to see a lot of these movies anyway, and it's good to know at least that they're safe for us to go see these movies.
Right. And we're not saying that it doesn't have language or doesn't have objectionable things. Listen, folks, we're asking you to choose your movies wisely. Do a little bit of research when it's PG-13. Do your own research on it. All we can tell you is the good and then what to watch for, but that's your discernment that comes into place. And so we're, like I said, you may go, well, I didn't like that material or I didn't like that. And that's okay. Everyone gets to be discerning for themselves.
That's right. But you better like this show.
We want you to love this show and like us, and then we thank you for your support and for watching. We really do. And listen, God's blessings to each and every one of you during this wonderful Christmas season and beyond.
Write to us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at faithonfilmtv. Also, go to our YouTube channel, Faith on Film TV, and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications on our latest Faith on Film shows.